Listen to this episode if you have the big ambition to hit 7 figures and beyond in your business, and you are looking for a good roadmap and a conversation on how that is actually possible. Today, we have the privilege of talking with Ashley Bennington. She is the founder of By the Blazer, a business consulting firm created to help female founders simplify the process of scaling 7-figure businesses. Ashley started her entrepreneurship journey when she realized how completely overwhelmed women were learning about money, especially in their early 20s. She started a financial coaching business based from feedback women were giving her on TikTok. And 6 months later, she had created a nearly multiple 6-figure business. She then decided to utilize her marketing and sales background to create her current company, which crossed 7 figures in just 15 months. She is an absolute wealth of knowledge, and I am so excited to introduce Ashley Bennington to the Small Business Growth Podcast. Just a disclaimer, this episode does have some explicit language, so it might not be suitable for young ears. What do you really feel like a founder needs to have personally to build a 7-figure brand?
Honestly, I mean, I feel like I could say this a different answer every single day because, when you go through the different emotions, you're like, you need this, you need this.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it's just like grit and determination, because here's the thing. You can be handed every strategy. You can be handed every blueprint, but like at the end of the day, you have to want to keep pushing forward when shit gets hard. I was just having a conversation with a business owner who, like, everything she wanted in business, she hired me for XYZ. Everything's happened. And she's like sending me messages crying. And like, that sounds horrible, right? Like I'm a horrible coach or something. But no, I'm like, bring it on, bring it on. She's like, I'm getting everything I wanted. And like, I don't know how to process that. Like, people assume that like business is like, you have this goal, you get it, and then everything's hunky fucking dory. First of all, the emotions that come with that, heavy as fuck. The navigating through that to like get there is heavy as fuck. Like, entrepreneurship is genuinely the most crazy, wild experience you'll ever have. So at the end of the day, you have to want it so bad that when things don't go your way, you push through and show up the next day. When things go your way, you're like, you don't run from the fear of being able to like operate in this next level. It's just constantly pushing forward through the craziness. And I think at the end of the day, people just have that or they don't. And it goes back to this conversation of like, does everyone need to be an entrepreneur? Is that like the best job in the world?
Yes.
There's a lot of people who I think are meant for 9 to 5, and there's nothing wrong with that or like belittling about that. Entrepreneurship takes a very specific type of person. So if you want to be successful, regardless of industry, it is grit and determination and the willingness to keep pushing forward when you have no idea what the fuck you're doing.
Yes.
Out of everything.
100%. I feel like so many people, I even talk to people where they're like, oh, this isn't working, or I've gotten 15 no's this week, or I've reached out to these people for wholesale and like, I'm not getting any responses. It's like, yeah, but keep going. Like, the average conversion rate is 100. You have to reach out to 100 people to get one yes. And so yes, you're going to get a ton of no's, but you have to reframe that, get gritty with it, and, keep on going. And I think a big thing of what you said is not everybody's fit to be an entrepreneur. And that doesn't mean that everybody can't become somebody, but you do have to have certain kind of characteristics. And I know grit is one, hard work is one, allowing to be able to kind of be like, keep going through those failures. What do you feel like are some of the other characteristics that, and people can have a business that's $50,000 a year. And if you're good with that, you're good with that. And there's nothing wrong with it, but to have a 7-figure business, what do you feel like the true characteristics are of a person?
I mean, I really think it comes down to the fact like you're willing to do things that most people won't do, because here's the deal is I think a lot of times, whether it's making an investment in a coach or, like doing Zoom calls. I mean, so my 5th month in business, I was going on TikTok really, really hard. I was literally like showing up, and I had a video go viral, and I was working a full-time job, 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
And I was sitting at my friend's house. I was like, so sorry. I scheduled 4 or 5 extra sessions of like my program, because I was like, I have 120 applications right now.
Yeah.
And I did that month 140 Zoom calls, 140 sales calls.
Oh my gosh.
I did it Saturdays, I did it Sundays. I took off. I told my boss I was sick. She knows this now. It's so funny. I took off sick for a Wednesday. I had 15 sales calls on a Wednesday. I took off my job. Like, most people would be like, I would never do 140 sales calls. And I was like, you have to do the bullshit that most people won't do.
Yeah.
Literally hopped on sales calls, and I sat as people ghosted me on Saturday. Literally had like, I remember a date with a guy that I was really excited to go on. He's like, do you go out today? And I'm like, I actually can't. I showed him my calendar, and he's like, what? Like,
You're like, so sorry, I'm a little booked in today.
A little booked and busy today. I did that. And most people would be like, oh my God, like, what do I do? And I was just like, I just opened up my calendar. I was like, great. People are flowing. I'm just going to add time. I'm going to figure it out. And most people, like, I would never want to do that. That's like, that sounds draining. It was fucking draining. I fucking hated my life that month, but I did it. Like, or like I posted while working a full-time job, I wake up an hour before and I post TikToks an hour before. And in between, like literally like eating a sandwich and posting a TikTok. And people are like, how do you post 15 times a day when you were, you know, working a full-time job? Like, I hear that all the time. Like, I don't have time. I don't have time. You do have time. You can you will make time for the things that are a priority. You will do it in the morning before your kiddos wake up. You will do it at midnight when you're fucking tired. I built 2 websites between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Like, just do the crazy shit. And I think a lot of the times, like, people don't want to say that because especially as like business coaches, it's like, no, I want to tell everyone that it's easy so they don't think that they're hiring me. I'm going to put them to work. Yeah. You have to have an realistic expectation that, like, yes, there are things that you can simplify to get to the goal quicker. I work 20 hours a week now. It's amazing. But at the end of the day, like in the beginning, especially, you have a mountain to climb. So I always say the tip of the mountain is not going to come any day. It's not going to come down. So the quicker you fucking climb the mountain, or the quicker then you can go downhill the mountain. So my goal in business is always like, go to the top of the mountain as quickly as possible, get there, because then everything becomes easier. But most people on the first like 10 feet of the climb, they're like, this is fucking hard. Yeah. And they never get to the top. And so I think that's really the difference of like you having that mindset of like, I'm going to fail and hustle through, like literally just hustle through to get to the top of the mountain. Most people will never reach it. So like your desire, again, it goes back to like grit and determination to do the shit that most people will not do. That I think really defines a successful, not just someone who can make money or like sell something, a successful entrepreneur who understands business, who is willing to go through, who leads at that high level. Like that is so much of what it is. It's just, you kind of got to do the crazy shit. You show up more, you do more, you have weird conversations. I had a client sign someone's Snapchat DMs the other day. Like you just do the crazy shit, you know?
Yeah. Yes, totally. And I think a big piece of what you said is like, you know, in the building phase, that's absolutely necessary. Like to get to that point, do you feel like that's necessary to sustain that too, to kind of keep at the same 7-figure status once you're there?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's such a great question because someone today was talking about all these things that they're like, well, for me, I don't do email in business. I know everyone's going to be like, are we kidding? I'm bad at email. I'm bad at copy. I'm a verbal TikTok girl. Mm-hmm. So people are always like, well, once you're at 7 figures, should I add an email? Should I add this? Here's my philosophy. And a lot of big business owners have always said this. You will scale quicker by leaning into what you're better at than trying to fix problems in the business. So the thing that I've always done, I now operate a 7-figure business. I have 1 team member. That's it. Pay her full time. I have about 70 clients that'll have close proximity to me. That's not including masterclasses, other things sold. Yeah. And I work about 15 to 20 hours a week. And everyone's always like, how? Capacity is such a big thing in business. As you scale, there's going to be a period where you have to go wide. You kind of test out, you figure it out. Then you figure out what works. Then you start to go deep. You go deep on the things that work. So for me, when I post content in a month, 80% of it's repurposed. It's literally old shit that I made 6 months ago. I literally reposted. So like I've simplified my marketing process to like 20, 30 minutes a week, which is kind of nuts because I do all my own marketing. My sales process, I figured out where people were getting stuck. I optimized that. Now I can close a 30K client in a 20-minute conversation. So it really wasn't about adding more or adding complexity. I think when you start, you have to kind of throw the spaghetti at the wall. Yeah. Once you start figuring out what sticks, just lean into doing that over and over and over again and making that a master process that you have. And then you can just take the 3 or 4 processes that you know work, that get you in front of the people that you want, that get your sales done, that allow you to be able to support your clients through the delivery of your service, or like your clients are loving your products or they're buying the other products in your offer suite, whatever it is. Like it's really simple. Business is simple, but you kind of have to start with a wide funnel and then you simplify down as you go. So back to that fucking mountain analogy. That's, I think, really what it is. So as you scale, you can eliminate the shit and just focus on what's working and just master that to a T. Yes. And you can have a routine business that's extremely profitable with amazing profit margins, and you can love what you do and you can feel in control of your revenue. Like all that can come, but it does take some time for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I like what you said of like, you have to try all of the things and you're really just trying and seeing what your audience really likes, your community, doing all of that. And then you can see, okay, this isn't working. I don't need to do email. Like, that's not converting at all. You can kind of take some of that out of there. I talk a lot about like balance in business. And I like to say, I had somebody once, I told them that like, I gave a TED talk a couple weeks ago on like work-life balance, freedom in business. And I said that to somebody at a jewelry store and they were like, oh, so it's like a slow growth approach to business. And I was like, no, it's not slow growth. What I'm telling you is that you like need to take time off to be able to like pour back into yourself. So, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to work. Like in order to build a really successful high income business, you have to put the work in. How do you kind of balance it? And it sounds like at the beginning you didn't, and now you've kind of figured out how to once you kind of got to that point.
Yeah, I mean, balance in business is really hard. I think that at the end of the day, we try to do more to be able to achieve more. And again, I think your ability to take time to look at the business while also doing things for the business is important. For me, and I learned this from Kate Perkovic, incredible business mentor, but she always talked to me about AB weeks. And I was always thinking like, in order to scale in the business, I have to do 100%, like I have to be working all the time. But what I realized is that you should have a 50-50 balance of time doing things for the business and then thinking about and going on behind the scenes. So for me, like when I was in a corporate job trying to scale, I didn't have a lot of time for that. So that was more like 20% balance, 50% or like 80% doing. And so I think the biggest thing is like, how can you optimize the 70, 80% of what you're doing to get down to 50? So you can now get yourself 50% of the time to focus on thinking about the business, strategizing the business, operating the business, like whatever it is. So that's like what I always tell entrepreneurs is at the beginning, you're gonna be like 90% doing and 10% like thinking about the business, like what's this funnel, what's the this, whatever it is. So if you can start to optimize that 90% and weight it down to 30, 40, 50%, then you have 50% balance. And then it's how do I make the most of that time? And then how do I keep that optimized? So then now it's 50% working 20 hours here and 20 hours here. Then you make it 10 hours here and 10 hours here. So it's literally just weaning it down. Like that's all it is. Again, people think like adding more, doing more. It's really just optimizing that time. And then for me, it's now a 15, 20 hour work week on working in the business and a 15-hour work week working on the business. So, but it used to be like 30 hours and 30 hours or like 50 hours. Hours. So
well, and I think that kind of goes back to you saying like at first you kind of have to do all the things and then you can pare it down as you scale to what's working. So you start with like, all right, let me act, let me like take this messy action, do it. And then as you see, okay, now I kind of know what's going on. I'm getting a little bit of structure, seeing what the conversion rate is there. I think that's really important.
1000%. And same with content. Content seems to take a lot of time for people. I was talking to someone who's like, I'm posting X amount of time per month. Like, how can do I have to just post more? And I was like, well, what content worked? Probably 50% of your content didn't work at all or didn't get you the results you wanted. So like you can identify what that 50% is, great. Replace that with workable content. Now we're basically doubling inquiries. So like if you double inquiries, keep the same conversion rate, you just double sales. She's like, wait, it can actually be that easy. So again, business is actually extremely simple. I always say this, it's, are you getting in front of people that need to know about what you're doing? Do you know how to sell those people or have the right process to get them into the offer, the product, whatever it is? And then can you deliver upon that so that you can continuously re-sign, restack, increase, lifetime value of that client? Like that's really the three focuses of momentum for a business.
Yes.
In order to then create optimization, then it's throwing in the systems, elevate your identity work if you're a founder and you're founder facing. Like it's all those things that can refine that. But if those three things exist, you can create a very successful multiple 6 or 7 figure business just from those three things done exceptionally well.
Yeah. Getting in front of the people, really selling to them and then keeping them around. I think it's just, and when it comes to kind of sales, like in order to build a 7-figure business, you do need some level of like sales knowledge to sell to people. What do you feel like is like the sales strategy that you wish you could just like preach to people? Is like, this is something that if you can master this, what would that be? Hey, I'm jumping in here for 30 quick seconds for those of you who are loving the podcast but wish we could dive deeper into every episode topic together. I have actually started a completely free podcast community called the Small Business Cafe for exactly this purpose. Inside this community, we dive deeper into every podcast episode, provide bonus resources, and actually host completely free monthly coaching calls with me. So you can get your questions answered. Plus, you get to submit your questions for our Friday coaching session episodes and connect with other founders too. If you have been loving being a part of this podcast and want to connect with other brand founders, plus get extra support from me, click the link in the show notes below to join.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like I have sales frameworks. I go into like all the nitty gritty. But at the end of the day, people move because they're activated. So the thing that I always tell people is that there's typically a signal. It's an aha moment that people have that they've created a crossroads of, I continued on this path or go find a solution for it.
Yeah.
And so whenever you guys are hearing, like, by the way, problem, aware, agitation, solution, it's navigating someone through a path to basically choose the pathway of you. But if you can speak to that signal, that aha moment in your content, and then you can help someone articulate that in the sales process, that is the deciding factor that tells them I am willing now to do something, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's buy from you or competitor, doesn't matter. But that is the aha moment that activates them to then say, I am going to make a decision about something. The second piece of that is, can you help them understand the way you do things differently, your process, your methodology, whatever it is, your structure of your offer, or like your product, what it does uniquely, that then they say, the way that I'm going to solve this problem, the path that I will choose is your path. And that's
Yeah.
what sales is. So it's them, people buy for two different reasons. One, they decide they're going to make a change. And two, they see you as the facilitator of change. So in sales, eliminate the framework, the, step by step, whatever. It's, are you getting them to say out loud, wait, this is the deciding factor that I need to now say, I need to make a change? Are they having that aha moment, that clarity? And are they articulating that in a way where they're like bought into making a decision? And then the second piece is, do they see you as the right and only way to then facilitate that change and actually execute on that deciding factor? If you can do those two things in sales, you will win 90% of deals. I don't care if it's price point or whatever, or your shipping costs or any of that bullshit. If people choose to make a decision and they see you as the right way of making a decision, they're going to figure out how to fucking decide to work with you. So then payment plans come in, or like a deposit versus paying in full or whatever, like all those things, or like, oh, I'll just buy this to increase my bucket size to be able to do free shipping. Any of that bullshit that comes with it, they will figure it out, because now they are bought into those two things. So if you can simplify sales to being able to accomplish those two things in either the conversation and or within content, you will be signing a lot of clients.
Yes. And a lot of that from a product perspective kind of comes from like the differentiator, what separates you from everybody else? What problem are you practically solving? And I think a lot of people don't lean into that enough. They're looking too much at the tangibles in services or product. They're looking too much at like, well, we're going to sit down and like chat every day and have all of these calls. Like, people at the end of the day don't care if they know that your product, whether it be the specifications, like people don't give a shit about the technology of your product. They care about, well, how is it going to make them feel? What makes it different than everybody else? And why should they choose you? What is the lifestyle that they feel like it's going to give them?
Yeah. And it also actually works the opposite way. So I want you to think about a brand that you love, that you haven't had a need for their product. So the second piece, right? You have decided that if you ever buy whatever it is, I'm going to think of like a product I love. I love Shea Mitchell Bays, like such a great brand.
Her marketing is great too.
So good, right? So I have always been like, I'm obsessed with her products, the way she solves problems, but I didn't have the awareness that I needed to make the decision. Then I got invited to a really bougie founder event, and I was like, my luggage looks like ass. I will not be bringing luggage. And immediately now I had the activation of, when I step into a room, I want to look rich. I want to look successful. I've never been a big traveler. I fucking hate flying. So I've always invested in like good luggage, but I was like, this is the time where I want to walk. This was my aha moment. I want to walk in and feel empowered, and I want to feel presentable the moment that I have this first interaction with people. I want them to be like, this girl has her shit together, doesn't have fugly ass luggage. So the activation happened, the aha, but then the brand had already built the awareness of how they did different uniqueness. I literally bought from them, didn't care the price point, whatever. I spent so much more on luggage, and I didn't look anywhere else. I literally was like, this is the brand. This is the way that they solve problems, and I bought from them. So with product-based business, a lot of the times, the awareness of what makes someone unique actually sometimes can happen first. And then the aha of, I need to make a decision in this area or this category, this niche, happens after. And then it's an easy then buying decision for someone to buy from your brand. So with service-based, it usually has to happen the opposite way a little bit more, of like, you have to create the aha, because a lot of people aren't aware of what their actual root problem is in service. With products, that happens a little bit differently. Sometimes it actually happens backwards. So that's important to know, depending on your business.
And people don't need your product 100% of the time. Like, in difference than services, like you can kind of make people be like, yeah, we could do this now. You can create the urgency, but without that event for you, you didn't have the need for that product. But what you have done, what they did is they built their brand. They built that kind of like ideal self-image that you wanted. And then when you sat down and were like, wait, like now I have this problem, you actualized the need and you were the one in front of it. Like they were the one top of mind. I love their brand that they have. And this is why it's so important to just be consistent with that, build that brand, build that ideal self-image of your audience, and know that when the people actualize the need for themselves, they're like, oh, okay, you're top of mind. I want to go with you because you've created that for them.
100%. So like that happened to me with Bays. That happened with me with Rode with skincare. I'm like
Yes.
brands a lot of people will know, very
Yeah,
founder focused brands.
for
But like
sure.
I always remember I was like, really struggle with XYZ in my skin. And I got to this point where I'm like, I really am feeling very frustrated with the fact that my skin is always so dry. And I immediately was
Mm.
like, God, I wish I had Hailey Bieber skin. And I put in an order for Rode skincare that day. Like I
Yes.
wasn't pitching an ad, I wasn't pushing it. It was the first brand that came into mind.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I need to build, like, I need to be consistent. It's like, no, that awareness needs to be strong enough where when people are thinking about a problem, they think of you. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be that get posted that post that day that brings it to their awareness. Both those brands, I wasn't pushed to people.
Following, you weren't, yes.
Yeah, it was just, I thought of them. I was like, I have this need. I love the way that they do this. It feels really good for me. Hopped on their website and did it. And so I think just like, yeah, those two bigger things, those are why people buy from you is
Yeah.
they have to have that clarity moment that says, I have a problem. I need to now make a decision about this problem. And then the ability for them to see you as the facilitator of the change to solve that
Yes.
problem. Those are the two things that people buy from. So if those two things aren't happening, people will not be buying from you
Yeah.
or from anyone.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important to be consistent with a message is like, you have this message, you're really good at eczema for your skin, or you're really good at
Right.
whatever, like you cure this thing. And whether it's just, you have the highest luxury, like the hottest freaking
Yeah.
luxury, like, what
Yeah.
is it called? Suitcase on the market. Yes. I love that. And I think a lot of it really does come back to that branding perspective of it. Like,
Yeah.
especially from a product perspective, like the branding means so much to call in those people. Cause that was exactly what you
Right.
said is either whether it's a tangible benefit that they're solving or it's like an aesthetic benefit that you're solving there is people
Yeah.
need to see you as like, oh, that's you're the problem solver.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause in both those, I mean, I'm definitely, I pay for price point. It's funny. I just made a really big personal purchase and
Yeah.
people are like, oh, like, did you look at price? I said, yeah, I actually funneled from highest to lowest. Cause I was like, the highest will be the best. I'm like a Mercedes buyer. Like
Yes.
you buy the Lamborghini, like the highest, but I did typically go in the middle range at the highest, depending
Yeah.
on what it is. But yeah, for both those brands, I wasn't thinking like, how much am I willing to spend? I was just like, this is the problem I have. This is what I want to solve. And when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I don't need the whole thing, but I'll buy most of it. And like, it was a very quick buying decision for me.
Yes.
Again, I think that like being connected to brands, especially for me, I'm a big brand founder girl. I love knowing the founder.
Mhm.
Not everyone has to operate that way, but I do think it's important. I know you're very good at doing that as well. Like every time I think about product-based business, I literally think of you and like your journey and your story. But yeah, I think that these are really important things that you have to think about because when you
Yeah.
can create an experience through a piece of content that gets someone to think about you every single time they want to buy within that category, that is power. That is
Yeah.
power and ownership.
Mm, that's so good. When
Mhm.
it comes to seven-figure brands, I
Yeah.
think there's like this number in people's head. It's like, I just want to hit $1 million. I want that seven figures. And a lot of times my question to people is like, okay, wait, like why is the seven-figure
Bye.
mark your number there? And I think with product-based businesses, it's a little different just because,
Yeah.
at the point of seven figures, you can scale it so far that you have a fulfillment center, you have a production center, and things are
Right.
manufactured just like they're working on autopilot. And not always by the time you hit seven figures, but a lot of times you kind of
Yeah.
have that system throughout. But I also know businesses that have hit seven figures and been like, oh, actually, I don't know if I really want this.
Yeah.
And do you feel like it's something that there's markers for that people can say, if you're willing to do these things, you can build a seven figure and beyond brand? Or do you think it's something that people kind of have to be like, let's just try it. Let's see if we can scale it up and learn if we want to scale it down or if we want to kind of keep it at that high level point?
Yeah, and I might approach this question a little bit differently than you asked it. So tell
Yeah.
me if I'm way off base.
No, you're fine.
It's funny. I created a post maybe a month ago and it said, I never tell my clients to aspire to 10K months and you shouldn't either. Cause it's a really big in the online business coaching world. It's like
Yeah.
10K months,
Yeah.
which, great and all. And that's an
Love it.
amazing number.
Yeah.
But what I usually do with people is I say like, what type of business do you want? Because here's the thing. Can you work 1 hour a day, have no team, have 8 bajillion one-on-one clients and work, nothing? Like,
Hmm.
I don't know. Like all those pieces might not make that correct puzzle. Like I
Yeah.
think that you work less and you do this, but like, can you do that with all these other factors? I don't know. I think that requires a team or that requires really good systems or something.
Yeah.
So what I always tell people is when they think about their business, I'm like, what do you actually want in the business? Build that. Because if you start with that first, the revenue actually becomes very easy. Like for me, when I was thinking about my own business, I was like, I want to work in very close proximity with people. Therefore, I have to charge a very high rate. I can't charge low or I'll never hit seven figures. So then it was like, then it wasn't, how do I charge that? I was like, how do I become a leader where people think that I'm worthy of a $30,000, 12-month contract? Like I had to become that person. So then I wasn't investing in like marketing and sales support. I was investing in like leadership. I was like, how do I embody and build authority where people are like, oh yeah, 50K for a private? Cool. Like that took a different level of depth for me. So it wasn't like, oh, I just need to have this amount of clients. It was like, I needed to embody that. So like it even directed my investments and directed the way that I changed the business. For me, I also have never wanted like a massive team. I decided that last year I brought in co-coaches and I was like, I don't want this.
Yes.
So then I became, okay, if I'm going to operate in marketing, sales, and delivery, my sales process has to be dialed the fuck in. I can't more than this amount of time. My marketing has to be dialed the fuck in. And delivery, what part of delivery do I want to own? And I was doing contracts and the invoices. Like, great, going to bring in my best friend. She's going to operate this part back into the business. I'm going to do this. But then it became like, what other things do I want to outsource to do those things so that systems and the piece were good so I can actually live in these spaces without burnout. So a lot of the times when I ask people like, what do they want? And they say a revenue amount, I said, what does that revenue amount look like to you? Because a 7-figure business to someone might be, I'm willing to spend pretty much all my profit. I'm going to have a team. They're going to do all this. And then it becomes, do you want to run a team? Okay, well then maybe we can't do it that way. Or sometimes it's people who are like, Ashley, I love your business model. You're going to make X amount this year. And I'm very profitable because I only have one massive expense, which is my, my friend's salary. So I really think it's more like what type of business do you want to run than what type of, revenue can that produce or what type of amount does that produce?
Yeah.
That comes second. So that's why I always tell people because there's a lot of ways, my friend hates this analogy, but there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. And so you my business and someone else's, I might have one team member, X amount of people that I work in close proximity, but I also know people who have same amount of revenue as me. They have a team of 6. They don't touch delivery. They only do marketing and they have a sales team. And like, so it's not about the revenue to me. It's the type of business you want. And I think most of the time within reason, you can take any of those business models and scale them really as big as you want. It just requires either higher price points. It will require less depth with your clients. It might require a team, but there's different ways that you can basically create that model. So I always say start with the type of model you want, type of business you want to run, why. Then let that dictate then how you create more revenue to scale to that number.
Yeah, I think that's good. It's like lifestyle. What do you want your business to feel like? What do you want it to look like? I think something important that you said was that you did scale with the team and realized you didn't want it. Where like sometimes it's going to be, let's just do it, see if I like it, but you can always backpedal. Like you can always make changes. And I think that's the important part of being a business owner. Sometimes people are so afraid to do something and then not like it or be like, oh shoot, this was not something that I wanted to do. But at a certain point, sometimes you do have to try to then be like, oh wait, this is something. And then you can scale it up, scale it down the way that you want to.
You never know. And like for me, I think I felt a lot of pressure to be like, I'll be more valuable if I have a team.
Yes.
Yeah. I felt like a lot of imposter syndrome because I was, working with coaches and mentors that all had big teams.
10, 12
You're like,
teams,
I'm not in delivery or, you only get to touch me if you're in this offer. And not like any of that's bad. Like, I don't say that in a bad way. Like I've seen it done in kind of a sleazy way. And I've also seen it done in an extremely ethical, powerful way. Both sides of that. But I felt like if I was just like on my website, like Ashley, and there's no team on it, I was like, oh, I'm not as valuable or I'm not a real 7-figure business owner because I don't have these things. And I'm like, honestly, I think it's more powerful the fact that I can make the same amount of revenue as someone with a team of 8 and I get to put it all in my own pocket. I was like, wow, what if I change the narrative? So I also think there's this like imposter syndrome, these narratives of like what makes you more successful, less. And I'm like, I just think that's all bullshit that we need to eliminate in our own head. Like, I think there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, a lot of different ways to scale. And I think all are valuable. And if you as a founder love your business, love what you do, and you get to stay in your zone the majority of the time, you are operating at a whole wonderful, beautiful level that most people never get to touch because they build something that they don't actually want.
Yeah. I think there's so much noise out there of just like, build a business this way. You need a team. You need all of this. And because like we've never lived in an era where anybody has never lived in a time where like you have so much input of opinions and ideas and like things that you can see a video of somebody saying, you must have a team of 10 plus to be able to do this. And you'll see another video of somebody saying the exact opposite. So we're like constantly getting like tug of war back and forth. So I think a lot of it, and like you said, it's like there's no right or wrong way. It's the way that you want it. And even if people are making like $400,000 in their business, but yet they're profiting 200,000 versus having a $1 business and you're profiting 80, it's totally different. Like sometimes you don't always need to make more revenue to make more profit either.
So true. And that's why I think it's really important. Actually, I was talking to someone last week and she's like, what do you want to be known for this year? And I was like, I really miss our tagline. She goes, what's your tagline? when I started By the Blazer, first of all, janky 2 years ago, I was like, creative agency. I don't even know what a creative
What it
agency
was,
was. I
yeah.
was like, oh, well, I'm going to do a lot of creative stuff. And I was like, no, we're like a consulting firm. But our tagline was always like, we want to build businesses that are disruptive and valuable and one of a kind. And the one of a kind thing has really stuck with me in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
When I coach women, it's really funny. I have a post coming out next week about this. I think it's funny because I like think about these things and I'm like, this is like so just more healthy when you approach business this way.
Yeah.
But when clients ask me a question, I rarely answer it. And people might think that that's a bad thing. But because they'll ask me my opinion on something. And I'm always like, here's my opinion, but also like, here's the different pathways of it. Like if you
Yeah.
say, I launch a membership, here's the pros and cons of memberships that might work really well here, but these are the gaps that you're going to face. Also, if you do it this way instead, here's the gaps and the opportunities here. I don't really believe there's one way of running businesses or like scaling a business. A lot of my clients think that I'm going to give them a blueprint, and I'll give you a blueprint based on what you tell me you want, but like I'm never going to have you copy my business because
Yeah.
most people want my business
For sure.
at all. And so I think the biggest thing about the one of a kind piece is like, I want people to know that they can build their business their way if it's intentional, if they understand, basic business skill sets like sales, if they really think through things from an intentional way. Like there's people who are in my world that do things completely different than I would ever do it, but it works for them. And I think that that's
Yes.
really important. I think more people need to like lean into what they actually want, not what someone's actually telling them, because
Mhm.
most of the businesses that I support would be very unhappy running it my way or doing things my way. And, you can build so much wealth and so much happiness if you just stay in your own lane.
For
So,
sure. And I think that's like, I'm very in the weeds with my clients as well. It's the type of business coaching I like to do. I want to be looking at your branding and your content calendars and like, let's look at the scales plan together. And my reason for that is the exact reason that you just said is that I can't make a course that's going to be all inclusive for every brand across every industry, across every founder. And so I think it's such a representation of people that really like realize that businesses are nuanced. And I always say, like, your business growth plan, vision, idea is nuanced. So your strategy is going to be nuanced as well, which is why it's so important to have like everybody's framework is custom. And yes, there's stages to it, but everybody, like if you in the product space, I'm like, if you are trying to grow it just to sell your brand, or if you're growing it to try to be an IPO, or if you're growing it to try to be in Target stores nationwide, or if you're just growing it to have a direct to consumer to your own like website, your strategies are going to look totally different based on the goal that you have.
it's 1000% true. And I also want to give people permission. This is not really something you asked or full on topic, but I just want to give people permission to know, like, you also don't have to be like married to your business. Like one, you can change it any time. Like, I mean, By the Blazer, my first client was my friend. She's a real estate agent. She paid me $100 for a month of content. Because I was like, I don't know, I'm charging. I was not familiar with that business world. So I just did that for her. Again, we were going to be like a creative agency. I was going to go on content.
Yeah.
It was originally called Ace Social, which sounds like asexual, which was really problematic. Like, we just we changed a lot. But that's not probably a great business name. But we changed it, and I was like, I completely pivoted my idea. And a lot of people think like, oh, I have to like build this as big as possible. And I'm like, some people just want to make a fuck ton of money for like 5 years and then retire early. And that's kind of my plan. Like, I want my podcast to blow up. I want to build more of a personal brand. Like, you can pivot and change and evolve at any time. Like, I would say CEOs, like, you're in the driver's seat. So why the fuck are you acting like a passenger? Like, you decide what you want. So you can change it. It can pivot with seasons. You can also be really, really close proximity and then make it all passive later. Like, you really do get so much autonomy to like build what you want. And so you can also build something to love it in the moment and know that your next season, especially like I have a lot of clients that are mamas with kiddos and they're like, I don't want this anymore. Like, great. That's okay too. And I think that's why our roles are always going to be in demand, because like people can't just build and have a blueprint, be like, all right, I make my money, everything's going to be signed forever. Marketing changes, your vision changes, your environment changes. Like, it's always, that's what entrepreneurship is really heavy, because you can't just build it and be like, I built it, check, I'm going to make a lot of money for the rest of my life. Like, it does not work that way. You don't think of VC at a company, get locked in, and people don't want to get rid of you, and you just make your 200K salary a year. Like, it doesn't operate like that. So it's just always evolving, always changing. And I want to give people permission to know that is okay. And that's normal.
Well, and not only is like, you're changing, like you said, sometimes you can start your business and then all of a sudden you become a mom and you're like, shoot, this is a totally different business than what I want to run. And the market can change, like different things, different industries change. And so like business and consumers and industries are forever evolving. And so your business will have to be as well.
Yep. And I have a lot of clients. I always wondered how I attracted so many mamas into my life
Me
because I'm
too.
not a mom. I
No,
know. And I'm like,
someday,
and
maybe.
I remember seeing someone posted like, if you're a business coach, you should never take on moms because you have no idea what they deal with. And I'm like, but I was at a client who got divorced this year. I've never been divorced. I've also, had clients who've gone through things that I've never gone through. Like my job is not to be the perfect,
You're supposed to
duplicate
be a mirror of
version
each
of
other
my
100%.
client.
Yeah.
Yeah, my job is to help understand how to help people navigate what they're going through that are unique, just like their businesses. I haven't, always had every single industry. Like there's the first time I've had that industry at any
Yeah.
point. We've now worked with so many. So like I think people want to hire you because not because you have every answer, but because you can bring out in them what they're needing and what they're looking for. And I've had a lot of women who have become moms and
Mm.
I have had to learn, what they feel good about. But also like I've had clients that are moms that like I didn't know they were a mom until 4 months into my program. And they're like, oh yeah, I
Yes.
have a kid's appointment. And I'm like,
You're like, I
you
got 4
kidding?
kids just running around.
And then I
Yeah.
have other people that are like, my entire business is around this, and this. And so like it's the same thing with me. Like if I could guarantee that I'd make 10 million a year, I'd work 60 hours a week. I'd be like, all right. But other people
Yeah.
like, I don't care how much money you get. I will not work that. So
Yes.
everyone's vision, everyone's way that they want to handle their personal lives, their income, everything is so different. You got to do it your own way. You got to figure out what works for you. You got to hire people that understand your vision and can help bring that out of you, but they don't have to be a duplicate of you. And I think
Yeah.
that's also important. So I have so many thoughts on that, but I think that's important to say.
No, I totally hear you. And I mean, like you said, you've scaled a business and then also scaled it down to working 15 hours a week, which if you can do that, even it doesn't matter what you're doing in your off time, whether you have kids running around and you're helping or whatever, or if you're 15 hours a week or from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. After your kids are asleep, it doesn't matter. You can kind of change. Everything there's mirrors to a lot of different pieces.
100%.
Ashley, this has been so helpful. If you could scream kind of one thing like from the mountaintops to a business owner that really wants to scale to 7 figures, go big time, like, be in that top 1%, what would you, as your legacy here on the Small Business Growth Podcast, what would you leave people with?
Oh my gosh.
I
feel
know,
like
put you on the spot.
I know. And also like what a hard question because I think it really is one of those things that like
There's just millions of things.
day.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I'll say is, and this is not a shameless plug for mentorship because obviously you and I don't do that, but the thing about entrepreneurship and the thing about doing anything in life is like no one can really hand you all the answers.
Yeah.
But when you're around other people who help you feel safe in the feelings that you have, who normalize the heaviness, like I just think there's nothing like that. And like it's really interesting because a lot of women at my level are going really hard on like one-on-one because they can charge a lot and just so much revenue in that. And like I have really never sold a lot of one-on-one. I've always been a mastermind gal. I love masterminds. I think they are life-changing.
Yes.
Find friendships, invest in relationships, like get to know other people. There's so much like, oh, well, I'm here in this. It doesn't exist for the right people. There's no hierarchy. I just hired a coach who makes less than me. She makes significantly less than me, but I hired her because she had this one gift that I was like, oh, I just want to like figure out how to tap into that more. Like when you can absorb like other people's energies and ideas and beliefs, thoughts and processes, one, you'll feel so much more normal. Two, your ability to scale and elevate to what other people have already done is going to skyrocket. My first investment I made, I literally found the girl on Instagram, invested 15K, my 4th month of business, and my next month, 52K cash month. And I was like, I'm working a full-time job making $50,000 in a month. Are we kidding? So expand yourself, get in free events, paid events, go to speaking events, network with people, like get on podcasts, listen to that, just absorb and absorb. If you can be a sponge, your ability to then like regurgitate that out into the world and bring that into the way you show up, the way you feel, the way you think, decisions. You just can't get a blueprint and execute that and become the business owner. I don't care how good the blueprint is. I've seen them all. Be a sponge and let that then come back into the way that you show up in your business. I promise you, one, you'll have more fun in it. Two, you'll feel safe in the decisions you make. Three, you'll feel a lot of validation. And also, we just aren't meant to be lonely in this life. Like go find friends, go find connections and community. Like you will expand so much quicker than any fucking blueprint, roadmap, guide, plan, whatever that anyone can give you. So that would definitely be my best advice.
I love that. I think business can feel so lonely sometimes, especially if you're like in your house, kind of just cranking away all day long. There's sometimes that it's like Friday afternoon and I'm like, have I left the house this week? Like, have I gone anywhere? You're like, you need people. We're like creatures that need other people. And so not only I agree with masterminds is like getting inside. I've seen my clients be able to help each other forever. They're like lifelong friends because they're able to actually, not everybody has friends that have big goals either. It allows you to feel more normal and feel, like you said in the very beginning, is like you feel less of that guilt around like the success that you're having either when you're in rooms with people that are successful. It was something that I think it's priceless. Like I did it right away in my business too. Very similar is like, I was like, all right, I know that I can grow a business. That's what I'm doing. But I also know that I need other people's input. I need to be able to bounce ideas off of each other and say, hey, is this like a terrible idea? Or is this something I should go for? And have that it's not even companionship. It's just like feedback and support and all of that. Yeah, I totally agree.
It's the best thing you can do. And even if you go into things without like an expectation of like, I need an ROI in this, or I need this thing, you will just be so expanded when you see what other people are dealing with, thinking like it just, I mean, I'm just a different level of leader. Because here's the thing in life is business owners at scale aren't necessarily the best at business. They're just exceptional leaders. They lead themselves well. They lead them through problems and challenges. And like, that's what makes exceptional 7-figure business owners. And that's why, again, it can't be handed in a blueprint. It also can be handed on like a one-on-one call where you like map out offers or map out that, like, that's not where the magic and the expansion happens. It's honestly in the conversations where someone's like, I really just feel like you just changed the way I looked at this. Like that's honestly most of my business. The massive growth has come from conversations and things like that. So you have to be in the room to have those conversations. Invest in it, get into it for free. I don't fucking care what you do. Trade services in the beginning if you need to, like do whatever it takes to be in those rooms. Get expanded as fuck. Oh my God, it will change you forever.
Yes. I mean, that's where we met. Like I flew from Portland, Oregon to New York City.
I love that.
And it was, I was like, all right, I'm just
look how cute we are. We're so cute. I love that.
So cute. I know. So it's so great. Yes, we need that. It's like you need that companionship getting in those rooms. It's great. Ashley, where can people find you? Where can they listen to your podcast? Where are you?
Oh yes. Find me wherever. So Ashley Bennington is my personal Instagram, and I link to all the businesses. One more might be coming this year. I'll let you guys know about that later. But yeah, so By the Blazer is my consulting firm. Talk a lot about business. If you're a service-based business owner and you like the good content, come on over there. And then I do have my own podcast. It's called Full Plate of Pasta. Don't ask me about any of the names. I just came up with them and I liked them, so we ran with it. But we talk a lot about mindset, business, entrepreneurship, like just all the good things. My whole philosophy is like just indulging you with the things that really expand you and challenge you and make you think bigger. So if you like this type of stuff, then definitely find me over there as well.
Yay. Ashley, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored. I know this is such an incredible podcast. I'm like, oh, I get to come on. I'm so happy.
Thanks so much. I love it. If you found today's episode helpful and are looking for more tangible ways to grow your business, make sure you are subscribed to the show. If you want to dive deeper into this topic more, click the link in the show notes and join our completely free podcast community where we dive into every single podcast topic, as well as give some bonus support and free coaching calls. And finally, if you are interested in getting my eyes on your business to find your hidden opportunities to scale, apply to work with me one-on-one in the show notes or on our website. Remember, it's not enough to listen. Don't forget to implement too. I love ya. I'll see you in the next episode.